Do you love this podcast? Do you love the information that we give you with a little sense of humor, some nuggets, some fun? Guess what? It happens every day, 24 hours a day inside Endurance Nation. Endurance Nation has been helping athletes just like you achieve their age group goals, whether it's finishing their first marathon or Boston qualifying, finishing their first triathlon or doing an Ironman at the World Championships, or doing ultra runs, gravel races, etc. Many cases during the summer months, we have athletes racing all over the country, in fact, the globe, at events of all different varying shapes and sizes. We can do that because the framework for how we train, how we build athletes, educate them, and support them with training plans and digital access to coaching and their peers is unparalleled. No one else does it like Endurance Nation does it. When you become a member of the team, you get access to not only the great coaching support, our training plans, and our resources, but to peers, people just like you who love the adventure, love challenging themselves, and are on this growth trajectory of personal excellence. Whether you're 25 years old and getting started or 65-year-old and sharpening the saw, we are here to help you out. You can learn more and apply to join the team at endurancenation.us/join. That's www.endurancenation.us/join. I look forward to seeing your application.
All right, here we are. We are live, finally. Folks listening at home, you don't understand how hard it was for this podcast to happen. Mark, I want to say, I know we talked already, but I want to appreciate your patience. Thank goodness you are an endurance athlete. You're willing to persist all the way to the end and chase me down to make this happen with my crazy schedule. I'm excited to have you here on the podcast to talk a little bit about Clash Miami, your season, and the race itself. But first, how you doing, Mark?
Great. Well, yeah, glad to be here. Doing well. So, for those who don't know me, I'm age group triathlete. I've been, doing triathlons for about 10 plus years, and I spend part of the year in Miami Beach. And so I had the opportunity. I love cycling and open water swimming there. And so that's, I'm not in Miami right now though, because it's like incredibly hot there right now. So
well, you're in DC, which is not much different. I need to see. Do you have short sleeves on, or you have long sleeves on?
I do have short sleeves.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure. You look really professional there, so I was worried. Okay.
I am in the air conditioning right now. Yeah, it's pretty brutal right now in DC too.
Totally. We just got a dog, like a magnetic screen door. Have you heard of this thing? It's like,
yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
Okay, I had no idea. For those of you listening at home, it's basically like you imagine like shutters opening, basically, but instead of opening, it's a magnetic strip top to bottom, and the dogs can push through, like regardless of the size, and so can people. And it closes behind you to keep the bugs out. So we got it last week when it wasn't that hot, and trained the dogs how to use it. And they finally got it after like 5 days, and then this heat wave rolled in. And the dogs are like running full bore into the door, because they're so excited. They're like to the bat door, and they go running over, and you can hear them like trying to put on the brakes, and then like bam, like into the door. Because I'm not opening that door right now. It is.
Yeah, it's no screen door right now.
Oh, it's brutal right now. It's just gross. I hear you. Okay, all right. So hotter than hot for everybody right now, but we're talking Miami hot, which is a different hot. And I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, like what takes you down to Miami, and then like how have you found the triathlon scene like as a baseline for training?
Yeah, well, so we've been going down to Miami. I mean, we have a sort of vacation condo there, and so we've been going there for we've had for 10 years or so. So we've been going down there regularly, try and spend as much time there as we can over the winter, and especially these days with remote work and all that, we're able to do that, take advantage of that. And so, yeah, for me, it's great to be able to train through the winter in Miami. That's the ideal time to be down there, and it's just, I think there's a big community of strong community of cyclists there, a lot of triathletes, a lot of open water swim groups as well, because the great swimming there too. Obviously, there's a great local pool right just a couple of blocks from our place, and so we go there and swim, and outdoor open air pool, so it's great to be able to swim there through the winter outside.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
So the only downside is Miami is flat,
yes,
totally flat. So if you want to get hills or elevation, there's not that in Miami.
Well, I always told people, I mean, Rhode Island is also crazy flat. I always tell people the wind is sort of my hill, as it were. Like, how windy does it get down there?
Oh, yeah, it definitely gets windy. So one of the most popular spots is to go out the Rickenbacker Causeway on Key Biscayne. And that's probably the biggest hill, is the bridge over to Key Biscayne. But Yeah, so that's a popular spot with all the local cyclists, people on all kinds of bikes. Also, people on tri bikes out there with aero bars. You see people. Rigoberto Urán was just riding there last month. If you watch his Strava, he's out there every once in a while. So it draws all kinds of cyclists.
Wow. All right.
I think he did like 120 miles just of loops back and forth on the Rickenbacker Causeway, which I don't know how many times he had to go back and forth, but that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's more. That's like a tongue twister, like the Rickenbacker. And also it just sounds painful. Yeah. Okay. Well, kudos to Rigoberto. I'm sure he's done more sadistic things to himself in the past. But so sounds like cultural level, just like with the nightlife, fairly high for the outdoor lifestyle and for multisport. What about for folks who say, Miami's like, it's like a city. Like it's not for training. It's just not my jam. What do you tell those people who kind of say like, what's going on with your Strava, Mark? You're down south.
Well, it's definitely there is traffic. That's the downside. So, that's why I think, a lot of the causeway is great, but it does get a little monotonous just going back and forth all the time. So from there you can ride, you can also ride south. So that's where a lot of people go south of Miami, along what's called Old Cutler Road, through Coconut Grove and south from there to the Old Cutler Estate. And you're basically going along the coastline south all the way to Homestead. And then and out there you get into some agricultural roads and things, and you get away. It's easier to get away from the traffic, and you can keep then going inland from Homestead into the Everglades, and that's a amazing place to ride. Not necessarily in the park. The problem with riding in the park is there's nothing. It's there's very little support there if you need to stop and get water or anything. But a lot of sort of agricultural sort of roads around the park there that are great for cycling. Also, gravel riding. There are a lot of trails along all the canals there. So that's very popular too.
Wow. All right.
So I think people don't expect there's a gravel scene in Miami, but
I was going to say, like, I was like, say what? Like, I wasn't expecting rocks in our conversation, Mark. Like, you caught my interest. Okay. All right. So a little more robust than we, might have imagined. So you're not going to Miami isn't like, I guess I'm just going to get a lot of work done and maybe lay on the beach. Sounds like you can actually do a pretty good job of staying fit. Like if you had to rate, now you're in DC now. So like, for your quality of life as a triathlete, training wise, like which city is more optimal for you? Are they equal? Or is one better than the other?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're different. So, they each have their advantages and disadvantages. I think, I mean, DC is pretty much a year round too. I mean, it gets, the winter is not so bad. Usually we can keep riding through most of the winter. You just have to bundle up, So DC is actually pretty good for that. I think the one thing DC lacks is the open water swimming. We do have a open water swim group here called Wave One that we train with at National Harbor, which is they sort of run an open water swim course twice a week through the summer, and that's a great sort of community. But it's really it's only during the summer months.
Right. Totally. Wave none in the winter for sure. But amazing. That was so diplomatic of you, by the way. Like, look at you keeping both your Miami and your DC friends. Like, they're like, okay, I played it safe there.
Right, I don't want to knock anyone, but
I hear you. It's all right to have a favorite. I'm saying, DC. I've been to DC and I've trained in DC, and DC is like high on my level because it's just got a small town feel but big town energy. And surprisingly good access to being outdoors and being active for a city relative to most, right? But it sounds like Miami is, not that far behind. And if you're looking, particularly when you go down, in the springtime, like looking for some of that warmer weather or the early winter, that's a win. So, all right, take us. So obviously, since you go down there, you're like, there's this Clash Miami thing. I'm going to go check it out. So tell us a little bit about Clash Miami and like why that fits on your schedule, aside from the fact that it's in your backyard. Yeah,
well, I always wanted to do this race. So it's because it's kind of a unique race. It's built around the racetrack, this NASCAR racetrack in Homestead, and also the roads in Homestead where that track is are roads popular with local cyclists. So I've ridden by that racetrack many times, on rides and things. And so I was always curious to do the ride. It's changed over time because it used to be the part of the Challenge family North America, and then they rebranded it as Clash Miami, and now there's Clash Daytona as well. And they've changed the course a little bit. They used to have a 70.3 race there, and now it's they don't have a long course anymore. But I always wanted to race there, so I thought it would be a fun local race to do.
Okay.
And it is a great early season too. I mean, March for me was very early in the season. I felt like I wasn't quite totally ready, but at least I'd had some chance to train over the winter there.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. I'm trying to pull up the website here so people can kind of see kind of what at least some pictures look like. This looks like it's got the old stuff.
I think that's so they have what they call a Miami distance and a sprint distance. And the Miami distance, that's just something they made up, but I guess it's kind of like it's a little it's a little longer than a typical Olympic distance, interest. Yeah. So it's, you can see on the map there. So the swim there's actually this spring-fed lake in the middle of the racetrack.
That's wild.
Which is, kind of weird, but it's, so you do 2 laps in this lake. So it's a small space. It's very crowded, during the swim because everyone's doing 2 laps. But it's this, supposedly 65 feet deep. I mean, it's this, lakes fed from underground somewhere, but the surface gets pretty warm because of the air temperature. So it was, I think 83 degrees when we were swimming. So it was seriously warm. So it was definitely not a wetsuit swim.
I can know. Okay.
But it was kind of a cool experience anyway.
Yeah. All right. I hear you. Okay. That's good. So you do those 2, and then you've got the transition area, like over here. How far is that run? Yeah.
So it's a bit of a run because then, you have to, run a little ways. I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't know exactly what the distance is, but a little ways through the parking lot to get to the transition area. And then the bike course heads literally out onto the racetrack when it starts. So you start going around the racetrack, which is this NASCAR sort of angled, steep angled racetrack, which is a little disorienting as I'm just getting started on my, aero bars on my tri bike. The ground is sloped at an angle. It's and then so you go sort of around and out, and then you head out onto the road from there. Okay,
I see. All right. How long is the Miami distance?
So it's the swim is 1 mile, the bike is 30 miles, and then the run is 8 miles. So it's a little longer than a typical Olympic distance.
I see. And is the run entirely inside the oval, or do you also head out?
No, the run also heads out a little bit, sort of into the around the sort of racetrack area, but it's not. You're basically still within the compound. The bike actually goes out onto some of the nearby roads, and that that's a little more interesting. A lot of twists and turns. On both the bike and run course.
I see. Okay, here I got the run
stays
course.
Pretty close in. Yeah,
here we go. I got the run course for you.
Yeah, that's basically.
Okay. The aid stations are little gas pumps. Sounds like they're having some fun with it. All right. Yeah. So it doesn't strike me as like there's a lot of shade.
Yeah, that's the challenge. So to me, that was the run was where it really got tough. And that's where I felt like I really suffered. The swim and the bike I enjoyed. The run was, because you start out, you do a loop around the racetrack, and then you're still sort of all running around the sort of race compound and then around the stadium, and there's no cover at all, and you just have the asphalt, and so it feels like it radiates heat, and it was it was just brutally hot. It had also gotten really intensely hot in the days before the race, so it was, even for Miami, it was in March, it was unusually warm.
Okay, I bet that's all right. So you got to kind of bring your sort of like August nutrition and hydration plan to this race. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And to me, the extra couple of miles on the run, I mean, that made, I'm kind of used to the sort of Olympic distance. In that heat, the extra couple of miles really made a difference. And that was really where I felt it was toughest, when I got to sort of mile 6 or so. And I felt like I had to put some ice in my jersey, sort of walk a little bit, and then, then get running again. And it was just to cool down.
I could see that. That's crazy. Well, so, so it sounds like it's a little bit longer than Olympic, but probably almost as challenging as a half with the heat. You kind of have to bring that sort of half mindset for pacing. It's not a race you can just go rip and enjoy. But it's a nice early season race. I mean, it's March, you said. Is that right?
Yeah. It was March 10th or something. Yeah. So, perfect. Yeah, and it took, it doesn't sound that much longer on paper than an Olympic distance race, but it does require a little different thinking, I think, about nutrition in that, especially in the heat. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know if you watch the PTO race.
I saw some clips. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pros raced the day before us. Obviously that was a longer course, but it was a similar course. They just did lots of loops. And they, you could tell that even the pros were really suffering in the heat. So if you saw, Alistair Brownlee was like the first one out on the run, but then he really fell back because he was obviously the heat was affecting him.
Like no way someone from the UK is prepared for those temperatures that early. Like no way. But it was interesting to see. Like again, you think about the course and races like this, and some part of your brain I think says, well, I'm used to races, Lake Placid, Coeur d'Alene, New Hampshire. Like, show me green trees, show me outdoors, show me rolling hills, and it's beautiful and challenging. And this, when you take away the stunning natural scenery, you say like, it's just kind of like a video game. It's just fast. They're optimizing for whatever. But when I think you take a look at this course and your description of it, it's actually like really challenging. Like it's logistically, like it's simple to understand, but not easy. In terms of how it plays out. So that's kind of the perfect combination of like not intimidating to get in, but you got a fair amount of problems to solve. Maybe you want to go back, give that another shot, like do that over a little bit. I wonder if PTO will come back, give those folks a second shot. So now if it was that hot the day before, did you spend how long were you out there the day before the race? Like, could that have possibly impacted your race performance if you were like watching for like 4 hours?
Yeah, well, maybe. So, I actually didn't watch the whole stay there the whole time because, I would have loved to watch more of the race, but I just thought I can't stand out here in the heat. I'll be exhausted. God.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, so I watched a little bit. It was a lot of fun to see the pros up close racing, but then I went back to the air conditioned hotel, and, to try and rest up.
Yeah, totally. That's amazing. I think, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I was surprised actually. There wasn't, I was at the PTO race in Milwaukee last summer, and there was a huge crowd there. This seemed much, the crowd seemed much smaller here, and I don't know if it was because of the location or also possibly the heat. People didn't want to stand out there all day, but I was surprised there weren't more spectators for the, this is supposed to be the inaugural, T100 race. But, hopefully they'll get more, attention for that, over time.
Okay. Yeah, no, I hear that. Like, I think, as you're sort of like trying to figure out, but especially when you're planning your season and you're trying to think about like, hey, as I'm figuring out like what goes early, what goes later, how do I want to evolve my season? That this seems to me to be sort of the perfect early season, especially if you're in the region. But even if you're not, you're looking to get away and be like, man, I've been slaving all winter. You can probably do long enough workouts indoors up here in New England, Midwest, to be ready for an 8-mile run and do it respectively, and be able to go down there. How, like, I'd be curious to know from you, like, from a logistics perspective, like how accessible is the venue and the city, if you were to fly into Miami or traveling to this race?
Yeah. So Homestead is not like, it's not like in the heart of Miami or something. Yeah. It's a suburb. So I think, you probably need a car, or at least to be planned to take, lots of Ubers or something to get around there, so that's the one downside. If you have a car, it's great. I think you can get around everywhere easily. And there are places to stay not too far away in Homestead.
Okay.
But I think part of the fun is to be able to take advantage of being in Miami area too. And
that's the thing, right? Yeah.
If you can combine it with a trip to the Everglades or something, I think, it could be a lot of fun.
That'd be amazing. How, like, kind of curiosity as a veteran, both in Clash and also with Miami, would you recommend like coming down, like say Thursday racing and hanging out for the next week? Or would you say come early, do your taper vacation time and then race and go home? Which would you recommend? And to be clear, you can't do both. You can't like hang out and taper for a week and then celebrate afterwards. I'm assuming that's off the table for most of us.
Yeah. Most of us have limited, time away, but I mean, personally, I prefer to have the time after the race, because then I feel like I can really, sort of relax and, but I guess partly it depends what you want to do. If you want to, if you have a car and you want to kind of explore the Everglades or something, that could be a cool thing to do in the days before the race, as long as you're, not sort of over exerting yourself. But but if you want to party in Miami or something, it's probably better to do after the race.
Yeah. Okay. That kind of makes sense to me. I get that. Yeah. That kind of works for me. And I think it also could potentially make it family friendly as well, right? Like if there's like warm stuff to do, you could kind of jet off and be like, hey, go do some fun stuff while I do my logistical stuff over here. And, kind of sounds like a good sort of all round race. I think the thing that stands out for me is that it is a full weekend. So if you are all into racing, you can do it. And if you're not, like I was saying, there's plenty to Miami, and the Miami area itself offers to be active and to have fun with your trip. Like my least favorite, the venues we talked about earlier, where Timberman used to be, or, middle of Ohio, like it's like great, like, open area, etc. There's really also nothing there. You can go look at a statue of like some really famous person from like 150 years ago, but not a lot else to do than hang out in the hotel. So I think one of the upsides of what Clash is trying to do is turn a resource effectively into something that just brings more people to Miami and increases for us as endurance athletes opportunities to combine, what we love to do for sport with a great place to go visit, and maybe even a place you wouldn't normally go visit. So, all right, as we wrap up here, what are 3 places that people should definitely check out? Because the folks who don't know, what Mark didn't tell us is that he's quite a photographer and does a fair amount of documentary. You're one of my favorite follows on the grams, because it's always like, I did not know that, or look at that. Whereas I feel like everything else is not that. So where would you say, like, if you were telling me that, Patrick, there's 3 places you got to go when you're in Miami, the region, where would you send me to go?
Yeah, well, it's, I guess I would say partly it depends. If you like to be outside, or if you want to be in the city. To me, what I love about Miami is it's not just the beach, but it's a vibrant cultural city. With great museums. Personally, I like the Perez Museum, which is the art museum right on the sort of on the Bayside and water downtown Miami. It's
Okay.
beautiful place to go just hang out. Even if you're not that into art, it's a great kind of setting there by the water. There's also obviously lots of the Cuban culture, Latin American culture there, as well, which gives it a different feel from many other places.
Right.
But then also all the outdoor stuff. So there are so many parks and outdoor activities on the water to take advantage of. So
right.
I mean, I definitely think the Everglades is worth seeing for those folks who haven't been there. And it's really so accessible from Miami that,
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I love that. Like the perfect mix of a little bit of culture, a little bit of outdoor time. I do believe that, I'm hopeful. At least for me, I know that like my days of traveling just to go train, like, I can ride my bike, and I'm here Tuesday to, Sunday. So I'll just ride my bike every day, and I'll just go eat at the, I don't know, Plant City, and, kind of just put myself into a training camp hole. You miss out on some of these incredible places to be. And particularly with Miami, its connections to Cuba, and actually it's sort of the business hub of South America. Like many, folks from Brazil, Argentina, Peru, they come up to do business, to do work in Miami and meet. So it's quite a cosmopolitan place to be in a way that I don't think a lot of people expect. I think they do. They just think of beaches or whatever particular easy photographic memory they have of Miami and Florida. So it's much more than that, folks. So give it a shot. All right. So it looks like from the website we were just on that Clash is happening next year, and they're working on some registration things to come soon. So if you are planning ahead, and we do recommend you do plan ahead on Inside Endurance Nation, and maybe, put like a soft circle in March for Clash. Will you be there in 2025, Mark? Is that going to be on the calendar?
Yeah, I hope to be back again. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I would definitely go back and hopefully aim to, now that I know the course, do better this time, and hopefully be prepared to deal with the heat and whatever else comes along. So.
Totally. You'll be the only person in DC putting ice on your head on a treadmill in February. Like, that guy's lost his mind. See, I told you exercising a lot was a problem. Look, that guy Mark over there has lost his mind. But hey, you'll be the only one who will be sunburned in April in DC, and people will know something's up. Awesome. Well, hey, Mark, thank you for sharing this insight to not just Miami and multi-sport lifestyle, which is sort of a nice surprise, but also Clash and sort of a unique race venue that, ultimately I think is the kind that we as athletes should be supporting, because it just brings a different dimension to racing, to as endurance athletes with triathlon, and give us an opportunity to, support different cities and different companies that are trying to make our experience more worthwhile. So this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time.
Great. Well, yeah, this was fun. So yeah, thanks for...
No worries. And afterwards, I'll have you make sure you share your Instagram with me. I'll put it in the show notes so people who love the photos can kind of tune in. Maybe we'll find a good one from Miami we can use as a cover or some part of the artwork for this. All right. Awesome. Okay, all right. I'm going to hit the stop button here. And
Endurance Nation.
Hey, podcast fans. I know you love the podcast because here you are, you're listening to it, and you're still listening to me talk right now. Did you know you can get content just like this in your inbox once a month? We send out a great newsletter. We call it, guess what? The Unfair Advantage. That's right. It's our information to you, something that separates you from the competition. If they're not here, then they don't know. But if you are here, then now you do. Zero excuses. If you go check us out online at endurancenation.us/newsletter, it's your opportunity to enter your email address, sign up for these updates. They come once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending on my race schedule. And it's your chance to get insider information that's going to help you become a better, smarter athlete. Don't miss out on this chance to get ahead of the competition. It doesn't cost you any money, and it's not a ton of work. It's just your email address. That's endurancenation.us/newsletter.
For more information about Endurance Nation, visit us online at endurancenation.us. The provided music is from the Podshow Podsafe Music Network. Check it out at music.podshow.com.